welcome back in my channel today. Hope you are doing good and great with the God grace. Before we start for the day 4 session, let's see what we done in the last 3 days. On the day 1, we started our journey about the customization, scripting overview, foundation, script editor and other things. On the day 2, we picked up the glide record and the glide classes from the server side and the client side. In the day 3, we covered the last that what do you mean by the client side script or the client scripts. How we can write the client scripts and what are the benefits, methods and the testing way to do the client side script. Now on the day 4, this is the last topic from the client side perspective, is that advanced client scripts that includes the UI action and the Ajax. Don't be confused about the UI action because we know that UI action can be used either in the client side or in the server side, but not recommended for the client side. If possible, use the UI action only and only in the server side. So let's not wait more and let's go to our favorite place, that is my favorite book. So today we are going to be discuss mainly these 3 topics: UI action, Ajax call and some examples are there. I will try to share my best knowledge on these topics. Just to put a disclaimer that I am not a hardcore developer, so maybe I'm not able to write a complete code, but we can discuss the parameters, we can discuss the syntax so that you can answer the things in your interview. Because again, this was asked to me when I was applying for the architect role. How you define the Ajax call. That time it was a new concept for me. I said, is it in ServiceNow? And the person laughed, yes, it is in the ServiceNow. Then by reading this book, I came to know that okay, something is there in the ServiceNow as well. We are not going to be discussed on the UI action, that what is the purpose of the UI action. No, we are just going to be see that how I can use the client side script in my UI action. Just a 1 minute or few seconds discussion. UI actions are the things which you are able to see on your form like this. These buttons are the UI actions. If I right click on the context menu, you will find these are the UI action. If I go here as additional menu, additional actions, you can see these are the UI action. If I scroll down a little bit more, you can see here the related list which is not available here. Maybe I can show the change form. This is also called the UI action. UI action work on the server side or the client side. Before, after is basically used for the UI action. If I want to show, let me show you something on the UI action. So basically it says, that was the business rule. So we can put the UI action like insert, update and active, all the things has been used here. Okay. Now let's come back to that how the UI action become the advanced client side script. Sometimes what happen that I don't want user to proceed further or the another client script should run on the form, but I want that some confirmation should come from the database as well. Is it be done or is it not to be done? So in this case we generally use the UI action, where in this particular place what we are doing that we are taking the inputs from the client perspective and going to that in the database and bringing some results in the return as well. This thing can be achieved via Ajax call as well, which we are going to be discussing a little later. So UI action generally is a server side script, but we can use on the client side. Now the question comes, Atul, how we can use on the client side basically. So now if I come back to this area specifically, let me show you something here. When you open the UI action, you will be able to find these many fields available on the UI form. There is a one field available that is called the client, which says that this UI action is going to be work or run on the client side as well. It will take some input and then it will proceed further. You can make it as a V2 compatible, V3 compatible, as it's up to you. Now if I untick this box, it will not show me the compatibility, because as we know, UI action are not from the front end, it's for the back end. If you are showing, if you want to run this part, then you have to put this tick box and you can make compatibility 1 and 2, means UI 11 and UI 16 you can do that part. Once you tick this box as a true, then you will find that on click button or on click field is also available for us. What this means, that I am going to write a function which run on the client side, take some input and go back into the database. Let me come back here to discuss a little bit more in the depth now. So what it said, that number one, to change a UI action to the run client side script, we need to check this box true, which we discussed just now. This one. From the consulting perspective, if you know this much, that I can say is good. But if you want to bring or move your career from the functional to the more technical part, then we have to understand in depth as well. I try to cover as per my best knowledge and experience here. Okay, so on click field run the client code contained inside the UI action. What this means basically, if I am going to use this client and I'll put some code in this function. So like this is the function I'm saying here. Don't worry, we will discuss in depth. We will discuss in depth this part. So this is the function I'm calling it here. It means on the UI action, I'm calling this function. This function basically for the form level, not from the backend level. Okay. Visually, this is the only small field, but sometimes it has not been used properly by the developers, or mostly, or I can say it is not recommended to use actually. It is not recommended to be used because it is unnecessary, creating a burden on the form level and making your UI action little heavy as well. Okay. So what is this saying? Not that appropriate for the code. So most developer call a function in this field and define the function in the main script. So what they're saying specifically, like I am going to be called, this is a function here. Like again, remember the functionality of the oops, C++ Java. They're defining a function and using that function in some other place. So this is a function I'm defining here and I'm using this function in my scripting part, that what this function will do for me, because this is the one chunk, that is the thing. So this is my defining and this is my definition. Okay, now I come back here. So what it says is you can create any function like on click, on submit, and you can put your name as well. That's not an issue. You can put any kind of a function. It's a function name, that's all. It is not given by ServiceNow, it's you who are going to be created. It's not validating anything from the backend as well. Okay, so now what we are going to do here specifically, what we are going to do is that this method of calling a function that reside in the script is used by ServiceNow UI action, that is out of the box functionality. It means if you are putting any function definition here and you are calling it here, no further action required. It means that you don't need to make any property true or false. It is out of the box functionality. If you write a function, it will call in the UI action out of the box. Now let's see the example here, something is there or not. So how it will look like, which we discussed just now. Okay, so like this we will be discussing this part. Now we will go for this example little later, but before that let me see what next is there. Now little bit important point, that how the calling server side script in the UI action. This is important. Now I say that this is my script, or maybe I can say I have some other script running somewhere and I want to invite that particular script in my UI action. So what I write something in the broader side just to give a little more understanding. Again, this is completely my experience, guys. So maybe if I'm doing something wrong, maybe putting something wrong, please share in the comments so that I can improve further. So what it says, that create a function create a client script, call the client script in the UI action, which call UI action code, and finally run the code on the server side. Let's discuss these 5 points, or it's number 5, it's number 4, it's number 5. Okay. So let's discuss these 5 points, because in the upcoming lines, in the upcoming paragraph, only these things has been mentioned. What it's saying, now that we have seen how to use the client-side script in the UI action, that we see here, that you can make a function and you can put the function here. Now we are looking to taking a step further and using the client and the server side in the same UI action. It means now in this script, I am going to do 2 things. One, I'm calling my client script and I'm calling my server side script as well. Okay, this is what I'm going to be do now. Okay, to do this part, what is saying that this can be achieved by first calling the client side script in the UI action, which then call the UI code, which we mentioned here. So like what it's saying, once you define the client script, you have to be put that script in the UI action, which further call the UI action code and run the things on the database side. So how this can be achieved? So to do this part, we are using this particular code, GSFT submit null. Then I'm calling the client script, because you cannot call the client script directly here. Like if I say you cannot use the glide class directly here, you have to be put something like this so that the parameter can be understood and it can work for you. So what I'm doing here, let me scroll down a little bit more to be understand like this. In the preceding line of code in the UI action, it will run on the server side. Number 1, what I'm doing here, what is the syntax here, that you are calling a client side script on the UI action. This is the syntax. GSFT submit is my function name. Null stand for the control. If you remember that in our on change and on cell edit, we have a control as a first parameter. We are defining as a null here because we are not checking on the client side. We are checking on the server side. So we'll make it as a null here. Then on the form level, I'm getting the element here. And what element? This is the client side, right? G underscore form is the client side, and I'm using this particular client side to my UI action. What this means by UI action, that I'm doing like this. If you see here, I have a set mandatory justification false and null, set get element and authorize. This is my UI action name. You can see here. I'm using this one. Let me just copy paste so that everything should be correct here. I doubt that there's some spelling mistake. So let me correct it. So this is what I'm talking about, the UI action here. Okay, let me save here. Now what I'm doing to do, the first argument in the GSFT submit is for the control, which we just discussed. But seeing we don't want to be used this because we are not checking anything on the client side. We are checking everything on the server side. The second argument, this is one, G underscore form. In our case, we just want to get the current HTML form, that what it contains. Remember the get form element in our glide class. This is what we are using. And the third element say where you want to be run this code. That is my UI action name. So by this way, we are calling the server side script on the UI action. The first part which we discussed, that how I can call the server side script. This is the syntax. We can use that part. And under that, I am writing my server side code here. Now, if I come back here, what I am doing from this exercise, guys, here, I make a button, or I can say I make a UI action called authorize. On the change request, action name is the authorize, and making this active true. And I want to call that on the client side, compatible with V2 and V3. And I defined a function called validate form here. When I define the validate form, let me come here and show you here. I'm saying G underscore form dot set property. If I put like this G underscore form dot, it will not work here. because we are calling it. We are still on the UI action. The base is the UI action. It doesn't mean that I'm the client side. So it will not work. We have to be right like this, set mandatory. Okay. So G underscore form set mandatory justification true. I am saying that please make the justification true and call this particular function called GSFT submit null stand for my control G underscore form. Let me try to do this part. Let me copy it and see. Are we get any success here? And let me remove this. No, it's not working for us. It means we have to be write this code again manually. Let me make it as a comment here. Okay. And then I'm using this particular function. I'm calling this particular function on the authorize as a UI action. So you can see I just have authorize as a UI action. Okay. And I'm calling it here. And what it's saying, and it's saying if the type of window is undefined, set to authorize. I'm again calling a new function that is called the set to authorize, where I am putting the state as a 3. What this function do here? What I want to be achieved, that I want the justification should be mandatory before user move the change, or when user move the change from assess to authorize. But sometimes what happened that I'm not moving the change. I'm just saving some field. So in this case, what I'm making as a false here. Okay. So I'm saying let's call a function here, call window undefined and set to authorize. This is a server side code completely. Function set authorize current dot state -3. -3 stands for the authorize, and then update here. Okay, this is what we are doing here. So by this way you can understand that how this particular function run here. If the statement is true, we can call to our server side code. If statement is false, we are not calling that to our particular server side code here. Okay, so this is what we are defining. So I put it for the on welded form. Some other example you can check on the on click as well. I'm getting the form element. Remember this client class is important here because you can get all the elements in a one place. Okay, and then incident means other example which we use, incident underscore UI action is there. Okay, one thing which is important, the type of script can be very useful, often being used on the client side to ensure certain fields or conditions are met before submission and the server side code runs. So this is what they're saying. It is good to be used so that your some condition should be met. Like I say that if I'm booking a ticket and I know that less than 16-year age person cannot travel on this particular ticket, then I can do this thing via this particular option. You can check on the front end as well if age is less than that, but it will stop everything. So go back, get the calculation and then show to the customer that no, you cannot proceed because the age is less than 16 years. So this is the first part of our today's session. Second part we are going to be discuss called the Ajax call. Something new concept for me, truly speaking guys, here nothing to be hide. Ajax call is the another efficient way for calling the server side script from the client side. It means because we're still in the client side domain, and how I can call the server side from the client side. Another interesting concept I can say that the code developer can understand this and imagine the functionality or the benefit of this, but for people like me, consultant, function consultant, basics is be required. In this particular thing, we are mainly going to be use the glide record because we are going on the database side as well. We have to get some objects here. Okay, it is possible to simply use the glide record on the client side, but this is not considered as the best. You can use the glide record in the client side, but that is not best. Why? Because it will create the performance issue and it will make the swarm or the things very heavy here. It is worth remembering that every time we call the servers from the script, we have to be take a round trip. Very, very, very true. What it's saying specifically that either anytime you are calling a server side script, it means it should be run twice. One side and the another side. Number one, you are sending the query. Number two, you are getting the result. So it is making a round trip here, which again created delay for the same. To overcome these problems, we have a Ajax call in the ServiceNow perspective. Okay, and Ajax call can perform multiple glide records query on a server. That is another benefit. Client, I can say server side, client side you can use, but to how to efficiently use, we have the Ajax call here. Okay. Now let's see what knowledge I can share with you on this part. So in this, we are going to discuss two major points which is be required. Maybe developer who is the initial developer, they can get more understanding about this by doing some R&D. So number one, we are going to be discuss the client side Ajax. What it says that need to be set up the Ajax call and pass the relevant parameter to the server. Again, the same thing. I want to pass the user location which I'm getting from the form to the server side so that further action can be taken in that response. So what the same thing they're saying, once a response is received from the server, we can use the returned value to decide to make a change. Like the same example which we were doing previously. If justification is not filled up, go back to the database and get the update that it is there. Go to the database, check it is updated or not, or have a field or not. If not, then you can take the further action on that part. And how the syntax work here. Let me open some comments here just to be more understanding perspective. Parameter passing from client to server side, that is the first part we are going to be discussing as Ajax. Second, when the response received, then we can take the further action or the changes on the part. How it will look like. Again, we have to understand that what is the syntax to call the client side Ajax here. Okay, let me scroll down here. So by this way we are doing the things. Var variable Ajax call new glide Ajax. This is the first parameter we have to be understand. Again, the method or the function method I'm saying, or API call I'm saying here, Java exposed API. So we are using we already use the glide record. Here we can use the glide Ajax as well, and under that I'm putting the server Ajax. What does server Ajax mean here? Let me open this. It is the way of, or it is a parameter for the script includes. Script includes is the advanced server side scripting which we are going to be discussed very soon in our upcoming classes. Then what I'm doing here, this is my variable add param sysparam name get user location. What this book says that sysparam is always required in your Ajax call. This is a function. So if you see here, the first one need to be include every time as sysparam parameter is the name of the function we want to be called on the server side. So this is the function. Sysparam name is my function. It taking the parameter get user location on the server side. It means, as I say, that we are just passing the information from client to server, but it is be running on the same part. So sysparam is my function, and this is my sysparam is my parameter which contains the function name which I am going to be called on the server side. We will see that part little later here. And then I can use user ID get form or the get value in the this part. So get form, g underscore form dot get value is again a client side script. Client side glide class we are using the caller ID here, and then passing the information in the get XML Ajax response. Means what I'm doing in short here, I have a script include. I'm putting that what function it will call on the server side, that is get user location. I'm taking the parameter from the form level and passing that parameter in the Ajax response which have a XML format here. Okay, so this is what has been defined in the given line. The only thing which I want to be highlighted is that to know that is this work as a asynchronous or synchronous. As of now it is working as a asynchronous, means this particular code will run in the background, will not impact anything as of now. If you want to make it sure, if you want to make that this code should run first, then you can put the get XML wait here. Instead of XML you can put get XML wait here, and then you can use that part for things. But generally we avoid the synchronous part. We always go for the asynchronous, so that my all other things should be work in the parallel manner. Okay, and now what I'm doing here, function Ajax response var answer, and I'm putting the attribute answer here and putting the alert as a answer. Now if I scroll down here a little bit more, there's a one more function called the callback. Let me see if the callback is there or not. No, callback is not there. Let me show you what is the callback stands here. In the callback function, we make the answer variable to return the value to our server side. In this example, okay, so this is what we have a callback here. This is the callback function for us. We are saying, why putting the callback? We are saying, yes, the parameter, the value you send from the client side in a function that is called the get user location. In a Ajax response, I received that part. I done my server side code here, and I'm showing you as a commit here. That is callback I'm putting here. That yes, this is working as expected here. This is what the callback function do for us. Okay. Now if I come back here, let's see the server side Ajax. So client side, we are using the glide class for the client. Now we're on the server side, so we have full flexibility to use some kind of a glide records here, because that is easily to be used in the server side part. Again, what is important, we are going to be use this param. So the param, the assist param which we use in the server side, now we are going to be use it here for the functionality. So this is what our get user location, which we defined on the client side part here. This is the reason I say in the beginning that this is required, that how my server client will know, or how my server will know that which function I have to be called. I am passing this function in the client side, and here on the server side I am calling it here. Okay, get user location function, user location here, put the new glide record of the user table, and then get the parameter called the sys user ID. What we are doing in this example, let's discuss that part so that I can give a little more understanding on that one. Maybe I'm not able to do this completely as a practical part, but let's discuss that part. So here we are using the get user location function to return the caller location back to the client. So from the client side, we are sending that, okay, I want this location for this user. In this particular server side, this function call, go to the user table, get the parameter, and displaying the value of the location here. This is what we are doing at one point of time. You can try to use the glide record on the client side, but that is not recommended, as we already discussed here. Okay. Now what it's saying here at the last, by using the Ajax call, we can pass back single value, like in our example, or multiple values. You can make an array and you can pass the multiple values as well in the same form. The only thing which I want to be show here, that how client and server work in the Ajax part and how the function definition has been working here. Okay. Now let's quickly come back on the example here. So in the UI example, what we say that I want this thing to be work for me. Let's see. I already mentioned this code on my UI action here. You can see. Let's see, will it work or not? I'm not 100% sure. Okay, let's come here and let's create any change here. And let me create a new change here. Yes, I'm on the San Diego and I'm using the change model concept here as well. Hello, LNG, and let me click on the save here. Now if I want to click on the authorize, let's see if something work or not for me. No, let's go to the assess. Something is not showing to me. Let's see. No, something goes wrong. I tried this thing, but it's not working for me. I'm not sure why it's giving me the problem here. But what we done here, let me show you. So the same thing we discussed already, that in this we are saying that if the justification, we're making justification is a true here. Okay. maybe some function name is wrong or something. Validate form. See, it's a validate V is capital. Justification, let me see, justification is this. Yes, and justification is this here. Okay, good, set to authorize. Maybe this is the thing. Let me try again. Wish me all the best, and to you. It's loaded here. Yes, now it's working. It was the wrong form name. Sorry, wrong function name. So these are the things which is be important here. Let's see if authorize work for me or not. So it's making me mandatory. Let's say it is in the assess phase. Sorry, it's in to new phase. So you are seeing the following mandatory is not set in the justification. This is what we are getting now. Now if I move to the assess phase, let's try this. It means our code is working fine. I'm happy that there was small mistake on the function name which causing that issue. So I'm in the assess phase. Let me do approval here. Will it move to the authorize or not? I have no doubt. Nothing I can say here. No, it's already moved. Let me click on the authorize because these things are working from the workflow. So now it's showing me the error that justification should be mandatory here. This is what we are done here. This is what we are showing here now. Okay, we are set mandatory here. If you want, you can put any error messages g.form_get add info or add something like that. So this is what is doing. What went wrong earlier is that we have a small v here, and on the top we have the capital V. So the function name should be correct, otherwise this code will not work, which I faced the problem here, guys. Okay, and the syntax which you will see, null, get element, and the authorize. What is this authorize? This authorize is this thing action name here. Okay, so this is what we discuss in today's call. I'm not going to be do on the Ajax part because I'm not that much expert here that what is Ajax is doing, but if you can get time, you can check, you can get this book from the Amazon and you can do that part. So let me come quickly on the summarization part, what we discussed now. Yeah. So in this particular topic, in this particular day, we discuss mainly about the advanced client-side scripting with the calling the client side in the server side and making sure that it can work fine on the UI action as well. Okay, so hope guys you like this video. If you get some knowledge, please put your thoughts, put your information, put your comments in the comment section. Motivate me and keep learning and keep growing. We'll back soon with some other video on the advanced topics. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, guys. Bye bye.